from some familiar faces. Nebraska has won 3 NCAA titles, while the Texas Longhorns have a pair. It's the Huskers and Horns hooking up in Omaha. Well, these two teams faced each other back in September. Texas got the win. In fact, they have won 9 of the last 10 matchups, including 5 straight in this series. It's an incredible atmosphere here in Omaha as we get set for the national championship match. Huskers come in at 31-4, Texas at 30-2. And for more on this experience, here's Holly Rowe.
Well, on Thursday night at the semifinal, it was the largest crowd in history to see a collegiate volleyball match in the U.S. And tonight, there's even more people in this building. It holds 17,650, but they have sold every standing room only seat. It is filled to the nooks and crannies. We will see how this affects Nebraska, who's just 54 miles from home. The Texas players expect their fans to be loud and rowdy. We will see how this loud environment affects both teams tonight.
The Texas fans were able to scoop up a few more seats after their semifinal win, but it is predominantly red as Texas and Nebraska get set to tangle. Let's take a look at tonight's Planning for Success, brought to you by Northwestern Mutual.
Well, first for Nebraska, behind and above means set backwards and high. Run the slide and set Katie Rolfson behind. They've got a good matchup. They also want to ride the wave of red in here, this ocean of red. What an awesome stadium setting. For Texas, bar the Katie door. Katie Rolfson's been hitting huge numbers, 358 in the NCAA tournament, and then also dime a dozen, and that is a volleyball term. When you dime a pass, you control the other team's serve perfectly, run your offense to perfection.
And the first point of the match will go to Texas. The Longhorns are the higher seed, so they are in their home whites, Nebraska in red. We are playing the best 3 of 5 sets. And the sets will be to 25. You've got to win by 2 if we go to a 5th set. It's shortened. Block at the net by Amy Neal. She's number 9 in white. And there is Katie Rolfson. So the 2 All-Americans getting some early touches here. The crowd did not think that that last attempt cleared the net. And now here comes Nebraska again with Rolfson. It's popped up in the back by Chiako Bagu. And the middle set to Cece Hall for the kill.
Well, if this is any indication, Beth, this is going to be an absolute war. I love how hard both teams come out, how hard they had to work, and finally Texas not able to track that ball down.
The serve from Annika Albright. She's a serving specialist who comes in, and Amy Neal tools the block. The 5'10" senior out of Austin with incredible hops. And a terrific story that will tell throughout the night. Nearly gave up on her Texas career after a frustrating freshman season that included a national championship, but she did not get much time on the floor.
No, even considered transferring. But the coaches worked with her. That was called a back row attack. There was part of the ball on the Texas side of the net. As soon as the blocker touched it, they win the point. The coaches, led by Jared Elliott, really helped build that confidence back in Amy Neal.
Became an All-American.
Exactly, helped her believe that she could hang with that group, even though she had completely lost her confidence.
Into the net for Chloe Collins, and the point for Nebraska. Justine Wong-Orantes will go back to serve. You'll note the black jerseys on either side of the net. Those are the Libros. They are the defensive specialists, tend to be pretty good servers. They cannot attack at the net. Collins, the slide behind. We're going to be talking about that an awful lot for both teams tonight. Molly McCage with the kill.
Exactly. McCage has also been huge in this tournament, but so far I'm seeing from Nebraska, they're trying to serve down that far sideline, make it a little more difficult to run that play. It did not hinder Texas in the least. That's the slide off the 1-foot approach.
Amy Neal with the service error. At their practices today, both sides talked about how critical the service game will be and how much pressure you can really put on an opponent and disable their own attack when you serve well.
Yep, and so far it looks like Katie Rolfson also wants to serve right down the sideline to what we call zone 1 in volleyball. I think they've seen something on film where they believe that Texas might have a tougher time running that slide play. There was a touch on that ball on the way out of bounds. So early strategy becoming apparent for Nebraska, serving down that one sideline to their left.
Rolfson is the 6'3" junior. Dramatic change in her work ethic, one of the big reasons why they have been so good this year. Michaela Fecky, a freshman. Both sides will have a rookie tonight that will have to come up with some big plays for them. Collins, they'll go to McCage again around the back. Nebraska is there defensively. Back row attack, Albright. That's a rarity for her. Paulina Prieto Cerame with the kill. 6'2" junior out of Puerto Rico. 19 kills in their win over Minnesota in the semis.
Yep, just finding the late arriving blocker. The other thing I'm seeing, Beth, early on is both teams seem to have each other really well scouted. I see good defensive positions. That's another thing leading to these long rallies.
Terrific head coaches and great staffs that they have put together. Their assistants were both handling the scouts this afternoon in their final preparations. A point there for Nebraska, tied at 5 early on. Nebraska, the runners-up to Minnesota this year in the Big Ten Conference, and for the 5th year in a row, Texas, winners of the Big 12. They have dominated ever since Nebraska left to join the Big Ten. Collins out to Prieto. Cerame got it through the block, and they went after the shorter setter as well.
What nice vision by Prieto Cerame there. There was a late arriving middle and what we call daylight. Watch the middle just took a little step the opposite way. That was Amber Rolfson, and she got stuck leaning left before she went right. A little late arriving. Prieto Cerame taking advantage.
All Big 12 performer who helped them take a little pressure off of Amy Neal this year, and the ace for Chloe Collins, the junior out of Cypress, Texas.
Straight arriving with what you try to do is you don't actually try to serve right in the breadbasket, somebody's belly button, but you try to find the space between passers. Well executed by Collins that time. Now she switches and serves more cross court.
There's the slide behind for Amber Rolfson. Free ball, Nebraska. Hunter will go cross court this time to Kelsey Fien for the kill. The senior at 6'3" out of Bakersfield, California.
And left side players on both sides of the net squeaking a number of their swings through, finding those late arriving middles who just aren't quite getting hip to hip, shoulder to shoulder, or just not getting their hands across the net in time.
That was Shaka Obagu, the All-American middle, number 11 in white for Texas. She'll get a swing right here.
And a nice touch by Fien there to create the scoring opportunity.
And the slide and the kill for Hall. 6'3", 5th-year senior out of Sweden. Amber Rolfson. Back to serve. The twin sisters side by side for the Huskers throughout their careers from nearby Papillion, Nebraska. And the kill for Obagu.
On the play before last, Kelsey Fien making a great blocking move. Watch as she goes all by herself solo, swings her arms, gets up in the perfect position. That allows Hall, the middle, to work hard in transition, come behind and run that slide attack.
Hunter to Fien, sent right back by Texas. And our first look at Yazzie Bedart-Hani, the 6'4" freshman from Los Angeles, number 27.
And it was stuff blocks like that late in that semifinal match against Minnesota that sealed the deal for Texas when it was really close. And Texas, you got to admire how much fight they had. They, as one of their top players, Jaco Obagu, had to exit the match with cramps. Still they win with another replacement.
We'll be keeping an eye on Obagu as the night progresses. Cramps have been an issue for her. throughout the season, she simply doesn't have a whole lot of body fat, so they've really got to make sure she gets her liquids and gets her rest, and here she is back to serve it up. They were able to survive the semis without her for a set. That may not be the case tonight if she has to exit. It's Fiend, solo block for Amy Neal. They'll go right back outside. Kat Brooks to Neal. Hunter. Katie Rolfson calling for it and killing it.
Nice vision here. Watch McCade. She's going to split her arms right there, and the field goal. Only worth 1 point in volleyball, not 3. But good vision by the hitter to take advantage.
That out, Hani. There's the freshman. We talked about those two going head-to-head over on the right side, and a stuff. Huge for Nebraska because during the regular season matchup, they were outblocked badly in the loss to Texas.
Exactly. Again, I'm impressed with the positioning. Taking all cross court on Neal. She didn't take advantage of that opening down the line, but the block and the defense for both teams in good spots. That's why these long rallies are happening.
Outside of Fecky off the block, and Nebraska grabs the lead. 3 points in a row. Timeout, Longhorns. Now the experience of the national championship pedigrees won out in the national semifinals a couple of nights ago. Terrific seasons for Minnesota and Kansas. The Jayhawks farther than they had ever been in school history. But it is the powerhouses, the studs that are here in the final. 7th trip to the championship for Nebraska, 5th for Texas. And they have a combined 5 NCAA titles. Texas also won the last AIAW national championship back in 1981. Benart Hani with a boomer down the line.
And we can see there's this matchup of freshmen across the net. The previous play, Fecky with a cannon shot off the block. That time, Benart Hani also bringing it as she has been doing in this NCAA tournament. Lots of fun to watch these two freshmen battle across the net.
That pass was tight to the net, and the lift called on Nebraska. One of the reasons both of these teams are here, Karchin, we saw it in the semis. We're seeing it tonight, so balanced. It is really hard to know where they're going to go.
Yep, lots of weapons. They could set any one of their hitters in these offensive patterns, except when you get a pass like that. Nice save by the setter, Kelly Hunter. That pass also too close to the net. The only place she could go was Michaela Fecky on the outside, blasting it to the corner. Right over the block and down.
John Cook says Michaela Fecky hits it as hard as anybody they've ever had here at Nebraska, the freshman from Iowa.
And another good block touch by Nebraska.
Amy Neal through the block for the kill.
Remember, Fecky was another part of that position switch after 5 matches, just 5 matches in. Coach Cook taking a big chance and switching Fecky from playing on the right side and opposite to hitting on the left, and switching Katie Rolfson from the left to the right.
Through the set in the middle to Amber Rolfson, who moved in the offseason for John Cook. Now in his 16th year at Nebraska, he's won a couple of national championships. Twice he's been the AVCA Coach of the Year.
You see him giving that one signal. They're serving that right back zone, and they pull the setter a little off the net.
Another kill for Michaela Fecky. Over on the other bench is Jarrett Elliott in his 15th year at Texas, trying to get their 2nd title in 4 years after they won it all in 2012.
And you could see him way down on the bench. His players had some conversations with him, and they thought, you know what? We might play with a little less stress if you go down to the end of the bench. And he figured, what? I'll give it a try, and it's worked really well for Texas here in the final, but another great swing by Fecky.
And a credit really for both of these coaches. They are old school, high intensity guys, and they both realized early this year that their teams, that wasn't the best way to approach these clubs, and they've loosened the reins a little bit, and their players have thrived.
Exactly. Cook said sometimes the team's way of business as usual is a little squirrely for him. But he said, you know what, I got to bite the bullet and run with it. It's working for him. Both coaches loosening up as they get on into their coaching experience.
Here in our first set, best 3 out of 5. We're going to 25 points. Got to win by 2. Kelly Hunter back to Fecky, who's already got 6 kills now in the first set.
Really interesting. I've seen just one speed for her this whole tournament, and then she breaks out the roll shot. We saw a lot of that from somebody like Dally Santana, the great outside hitter for Minnesota, but not much of the off-speed shot. That's a smart thing when you've been hitting scuds across the net to mix in the roll shot. Very effective.
And then into the net for the service error. Fecky was the National Player of the Year coming out of high school. John Cook telling us today she's got ice in her veins, absolutely lives for this kind of moment in the spotlight.
And sure is showing it with a really strong start. 6 kills, 9 attempts, 0 errors for a cool .667 hitting percentage.
Hunter to Rolfson, not only Nebraska teammates, but high school teammates as well. Papio South, one of the local powerhouses in a state that has gone volleyball mad from the days of Terry Pettit, the former coach and one of the mentors for John Cook, who won the championship over Texas in 1995. It is the dream of so many young Nebraskans to wear that red jersey, and the opportunity to play here at home just amps it up even more.
And that's one of the things you got to credit Nebraska with, and Coach Cook talked about it too. The previous 2 times it was hosted in Omaha, he was terrified. He was just sick to his stomach trying to get here. This time they've really embraced the journey and the challenge of trying to make the semifinals. Opportunity for Texas there with the bad pass. Nice set.
Collins sets up Amy Neal, can't put it down. Feen off the ricochet, Neal able to keep it up. Back outside to the All-American. Right at Justine Wong-Orantes, the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, and she allows Feen to get a good swing.
Feen does best when she hits higher off that right hand, and she uses that right hand of Bedard Hani perfectly.
Up a couple as Hunter serves. That's a Bagu trying to tip it in the middle. Good coverage by Rolfson. Feen had to roll it. Now a chance for Texas in transition. Neal. Couple blockers were there waiting. Bump to Bedardani, down the line. Good save by Albright. The joust at the net, point Texas.
And you gotta love the range that Bedard Hani is playing with. Remember, she grew up in high school and club only playing on the left side. So she made that transition to hitting on the right side, never having done it before, and she hits cross court, she can hit the corner, and that time she blasted down the line.
And what's the biggest difference? What's the adjustment you need to make moving over to the right?
Well, now the ball has to come across your left shoulder. You have to let it get all the way outside to your hitting shoulder. When you're on the left side and you're right-handed, the ball just comes naturally to that hitting shoulder. And she doesn't do it perfectly, but she's Coach Jared Elliott has given her a lot of credit for all the learning she's done. Still has lots of work to do on the block, but that wasn't even really part of the plan. She was number 3 on the depth chart.
Yeah.
Really wasn't expected to take over, but 2 injuries put her right there as their whole depth chart now at opposite.
Texas lost a couple of players that they thought would be big contributors this year, but the injuries sideline them, and Bedard Hani has stepped into the void. Fecky with another swing coming right in off the bench. She's 7 for 10 in her debut in a championship match. And Texas will burn its second and final timeout of the set. They have been driven all season, and certainly in the semifinals the other night, by their defense and their ability to make plays like that, to get swings like this.
Texas by 3 right now. And Nebraska coach John Cook said early in the season, after they played Texas, he just knew the lineup he had on the floor wasn't quite right. He said, in my gut, I knew to get back to Omaha into that regional semifinal that they had to make some serious changes. So he took an All-American and Katie Rolfson and asked her to switch positions midway through the season. Also, freshman Michaela Fecky changed sides of the court. Amber, look at this, Amber Rolfson in the middle, Katie and Michaela switching sides there, and that has become their best defensive lineup, their best passing lineup, and their most aggressive hitting lineup. He said if he hadn't made those changes, they wouldn't be here.
And it was on September 6th. Katie Rolfson just got a text. By the way, you're going to play opposite for the rest of the season. All right. The thing I'm impressed about is both Rolfsons switched. Last spring, of course, her sister Amber went to the middle. She hated it at first, grown to love it. Her strongest skill, her strongest technique is blocking. She gets to put that to great use as a middle blocker. And the fact that they were so heralded and have both been willing to switch positions to make their team better has to have a huge impact on the team.
Beth Mullins, Kirch Karai, Holly Rowe. Kirch, the head coach of the U.S. women's national team. We are headed to 25 points, got to win by 2. The first set, best 3 of 5 for the national championship. Sometimes when you are trying to serve well, you got to live with some errors, and both sides have 4 of them so far in this first set.
Yeah, some risk reward. Coaches got to be okay. You know, if you want to serve aggressively, you got to be okay with a few misses.
Neal right at Arantes with a good get up. And how about McCoy responding? Prieto Cerame is stuffed. They'll go back out to Paulina. The Rolfson twins were right there. Hunter to Katie and a solo block for Prieto Cerame. Point Texas to get within 1.
Yeah, Cerame and Rolfson were exchanging near blocks. Watch those hands, that left hand especially, a solo one-on-one block, forcing the timeout on the Nebraska side.
They will have 1 remaining in the set. Texas does not have any left. Well, the NCAA championships, our coverage continues with the FCS championship game Saturday, January 9th at noon Eastern on ESPN2. For more information on the NCAA FCS Championship, visit NCAA.com, your home for all 90 NCAA championships. And that final is now set. It will be North Dakota State and Jacksonville State for the national championship. 21-20, Nebraska by 1. First set of our national championship match in front of a record crowd, biggest crowd in U.S. history to watch a volleyball match. Nebraska's last national championship came in 2006. It was their 3rd, and it was right here in this house. Trying to win a 4th title for Texas. They're trying to win their 2nd national championship in the last 4 years. And you get the sense, too, Karch, that for both these sides, it's a very pleasant surprise. Expectations weren't overwhelming to start the year, and they have talked about trust and accountability and team chemistry that's gotten them here.
Ultimate trust on the Nebraska side, and of course the communication has built and built, and some of the seniors for Texas like Molly McCage have really embraced that leadership role. Amy Neal, and they feel tighter than ever. In some years past, they've had somebody they've depended on more, kind of a superstar on offense. This is a more balanced attack and a more balanced team, really tight team chemistry.
Door opened up when #1 seed USC was upset in the region final, and when 2-time defending champ Penn State was knocked out in the Sweet 16. That is the 5th service error for Texas and a 2-point edge for Nebraska. 3 points now from the set. 2
of them for Neal, and that's a common strategy. A coach might call a timeout, especially for a higher risk server like Neal, hoping for the error out of the timeout.
They continue to serve at Neal. Chloe Collins, Prieto Cerame, the block able to slow it down. Back row attack, Albright into the net.
Yeah, every so often they will set her. They like using her. She's not as efficient as I think I'd rather have set out to Michaela Fecky,
I was going to say,
we're running the offense.
Especially this late in the set.
And especially with Fecky hitting 7 for 10 with no errors.
Pretty good option to go to there, the freshman. Let's see if they go back to her. There they go. 2 in red.
Nice
Dug up by McCoy. Prieto Cerame getting some swings and effective with that one. Ties it at 22. Terrific defense there from Kat McCoy. Hunter, they'll go back to the freshman. And Fecky gets a touch. Point Nebraska.
Boy, you really got to be ready, Beth, if you're in the back row and that thing gets past the block. Watch, it just catches Amy Neal by surprise. It's coming so hard and so fast. She also puts a lot of heat on her serve. I like it when she hits it flat, barely crossing the net, no spin. But Neal controls it well.
Prieto Cerame. Little vapor trail on that one, Point Texas. If somebody can scrape together 2 in a row, they'll take the set. Collins will serve.
See if they've done some targeting of Katie Rolfson, who, even though she's playing opposite, she's in the passing formation. They serve her, perfect pass.
Hunter to Fiend. Popped up by McCoy. Not the best of chances. Now Nebraska. The slide and the kill for Rolfson. Set point for Nebraska. And Fecky, by the way, has rotated out, not on the floor right now. Amber Rolfson serving. Prieto Cerame into the block. Stuffed, and Nebraska grabs the opener. How about the work of the freshman in her championship debut, Michaela Fecky. 8 kills, hitting .667. Nebraska up 1-0.
Well, we wondered how this Texas team would handle this huge pro-Nebraska crowd, and right now it is causing some communication issues. I'm standing right behind the Texas bench during timeouts, and the coaches are really having to yell even just 1 foot away from their players to be heard. It is loud, it is oppressive. My decibel meter so far says it's 94 decibels. The loudest football game I was at this year was 104, so that gives you some indication of just how loud it is in this building for these Longhorns. They've been great at communicating on the court. That's one of their strengths of their team, and they'll have to continue to make themselves heard with this sea of red.
CenturyLink Center here in Omaha. 17,560. You cannot squeeze another fanny in the seats here. They are all gone. They're standing room only for the national championship match.
Beth, one of the things that stands out, Amy Neal not really getting going so far. Texas got to figure out a way to get her some better looks. They did not. They could choose a much different matchup if they so chose to get her somebody different to hit against. They did not spin the dial. They're going to have about the same first server for both teams.
What do they need to do here, Karts, to try and slow down Michaela Fecky, the freshman, with 8 kills to lead everybody in that first set?
They got to get in better blocking spots and just get used to the speed of the ball. It seemed like Kansas struggled with that a little. The volume, the heat that was coming at them once the ball got past the block was catching them by surprise.
Who's serving? Hunter will track it down. Here comes Fecky. Number 2 in red. Missed it deep. Point Texas.
Her first error after essentially a perfect first set. In that set, 8 kills, 0 errors, 12 attempts.
She went to the championship in Oklahoma City as a fan last year, watched from the stands, and now out on the floor and getting the job done for Nebraska. Terrific attempt at it there by Kat Brooks, but they could not bump it across. Point Nebraska.
Could not, but certainly were capable of putting that ball over. Disappointing for Texas not to at least keep that ball in play.
Justine Wong-Arantes, the libero from Cypress, California. And one of the best that they have had here. It's been a position that has produced a bunch of national team members. Good job by Nebraska to try and keep that going. Back to Amy Neal. Point Texas.
Wow, Texas got to be happy to have won that rally. Remember at the start there was real confusion, and the set from Chloe Collins went to nobody. They just had to put a free ball over.
This is Nicole Dalton. Becky going deep. Good job by Hunter to run that one down to set it up.
And a little surprised, that set went outside the sideline, so she has to hit inside the antenna. That ball has to go cross court. Still, Texas not ready.
Dalton with the pass to Collins. Cross court to Neal, stuffed. Rolfson. Amber having the best blocking season at Nebraska in 10 years in her first season on the job.
She made the switch in the spring, and look at her get up, get those hands across the net, just feasting at the net as a blocker. Coach Cook calls that her best skill. That's one of the reasons, confusion by Michaela Fecky there, jumping on the wrong person. But that's one of the reasons he wanted her to make that switch, even though she told him, he kept asking her, what do you think of middle blocker? I hate it. What do you think of middle blocker? I hate it. Well, you're going to play it. Now she loves it.
She did not play, by the way, in the regular season loss to Texas, nor did Bedard Hani for the Longhorns when they met back in September. Point for Nebraska. They go up 5-4.
And not only does she block, but she can hit that slide approach, that 1 foot behind the setter. That's what spreads defenses out. It's very difficult to guard both sidelines with that kind of speed. How low that set is, how fast it is. And there she's got her giraffe headband on. Her favorite animal.
That's how you tell her apart from her sister. Molly McCage, I think two carts that Texas would like to get their middles going a little bit. McCage and Abagu. Of course, Molly was a member of their championship team as a freshman.
Yep, and played much a bigger role than Amy Neal did. But Abagu hitting for the season 412. McCage 377. They got to get the ball to those two a lot.
Hunter to Fiend, slowed down by Abagu there.
We'll
go back to Chaku on the slide behind and does not get the touch. Point Nebraska.
But I like the thinking. Get that ball to Abagu. She's quite efficient. Might have been a touch. And they were calling for it.
There is no instant replay in the NCAA tournament. That may be coming soon. And that time, Chaka leaves no doubt.
That's a common theme for setters. If their hitter makes a mistake, gets blocked, one nice strategy is to give them a second chance. Now, the other team, if they study that a lot, they'll know, that setter repeats the error or repeats the stuff. Collins repeating, getting the kill for Abagu.
Abagu is the 6'2" junior from Texas. That's Cecilia Hall with the kill for Nebraska. They go back up by 1.
Yeah, did you see how there was a little bit of mistiming? She hung and waited because she wasn't there at the right time, but it worked to her advantage on the block.
Off the tape, it's all right to hit the net on the serve in volleyball, as long as it continues across the net. And the point for Nebraska is Kelly Hunter again will step behind the line. The sophomore out of Papillion, Nebraska. Her mom, Lori, was a setter for the Huskers. Following in mom's footsteps and trying to go one better and win a title. Actually redshirted last year and waited her chance. John Cook was able to talk her into it, and it has worked out well for all parties involved. She is one of 3 Nebraskans in the starting lineup. There are a handful of them for Texas in their lineup from the Lone Star State. And that's what makes it even more special, is they've got a lot of players that fans have grown up watching from high school.
And maybe the toughest part was very early in the season when they'd already decided to redshirt. She played in their annual scrimmage match, the red-white match, and her team won. So Coach Cook had a little work to do to convince her, you know what, this is going to be good for you and good for the team.
Yeah, I believe his words were, oh, shoot. It was a good problem to have. You know, you got a couple of good ones. It was Mary Pohlmiller last year as Amy Neal, the Austin, Texas native, gets the kill.
Yeah, Texas needs to get Neal going. But it was impressive. Hunter saying, you know what, nobody wants to sit out, but it was best for the team and certainly turned out to be worth the wait for her.
Hunter, the back set to Hall into the net, point Texas, and they are back to square. Zabagwu will serve. The daughter of Nigerian immigrants had tears in her eyes when she spoke to us the other day about her grandmother, who's one of her biggest fans, and whenever she goes back to visit relatives in Africa, she brings newspaper clippings and DVDs back with her so they can watch Jacka play.
Yeah, her family, her parents said, you know what, schoolwork's the most important. They left no room for slacking.
Yep. We're having an issue right now, though, with the freshman on the other side of the net. Fecky has 10 kills now tonight. Collins to the other rookie, and Bedard Ani says, all right, I'm going to match you.
Freshman against freshman there. And Michaela Fecky not able to get in a good spot. Bedard Ani just crushing this ball cross court. You see her face straight ahead and then bring her arm across her body. That's a tougher one to read as a blocker.
She's coming off a career high 15 kills in the semis. McCage going behind, looking at the middles a little bit more now in this second set for Texas as they go up one.
Boy, what nice work by Molly McCage. Watch her, she's a blocker coming all the way from the left side of the court to the right side of the court, transitioning from defense to offense.
Fecky tools the block of the smaller Collins. Point for Nebraska. Both sides, Karch, hitting better than 400 here in the second.
Fecky's showing some real volleyball IQ there. That set was not lined up. She could have just crushed it and gotten stuff straight down for a point for the other team. Tips it softly off the block instead. Volleyball
hitting percentage is like a batting average. You want to be over 300. 400 is terrific. Back to Fecky. Overpass, you are allowed to try and bring it back across the net, but that one was inside the antenna.
Yes, exactly. That ball, if it does go across the net, it has to go outside. Watch, this is a great view. It's going to come, it had to go to the left of that antenna, but it stayed inside to the right, and then they cannot play that ball. It's blown dead at that point.
Well, Collins likes McCage this set. She was a key to them even getting here with a huge fifth set in their region final win over Florida. And a lot of plays just like that.
And it's wise of Texas. If they're not getting as much production from Neal in front of the setter on the left side, they're just going to go back behind. But Nebraska returns the favor. Amber Ralston also crushing just like McCage did.
Yeah, the outsides right now for Texas, Karch. Both Sarame and Neal are sub 200. Let's see if they look to go back to a middle here on the serve receive of Fecky.
You want to get the ball to your most efficient hitters.
They will continue to serve Neal to keep her busy. And there's Prieto Sarame, so they decide to try and get the outsides heated up a little bit.
And while you want to milk it and get your ball, get the most opportunities to your most efficient hitters, you got to keep the other team honest, and that's why you're going to still set out to Neal and Sarame, Prieto Sarame once in a while.
Kat McCoy, the sophomore out of Southlake, Texas. Over on two for Hunter, and Dalton was there. Back to Prieto Sarame. Back outside to Paulina, stuffed. Amber Rolfson.
Beth, if you're a blocker, you got to be having so much fun because there is absolute heat coming at you from people like Paulina Prieto-Sarame on one side of the net, the Rolfson twins. When it comes at you hard and you get your hand on it just right, there's no chance for the other team to play that ball. And now an ace.
Sydney Townsend coming in as the serving specialist. It's the ace. Midway through the set, all it needs is just a piece of that white line.
Looks like it got it.
Point Nebraska. To the break they go with a 2-point edge. They've already taken the opening set here in the national championship match. Huskers and horns and a record crowd. Well, two of the most exciting days of the college football season coming our way with the New Year's Six as it kicks off on ESPN at noon Eastern on New Year's Eve with the Peach Bowl. And then both of the national semifinals this year on New Year's Eve, Oklahoma, Clemson, and Michigan State, Alabama. And then your New Year's Day lineup, Fiesta, Rose, and Sugar. All the action will get underway at 1 Eastern with Notre Dame, Ohio State. Beth Mowins, Kirch Karai, Holly Rowe here in Omaha, Nebraska. Midway through the second set, it's a 1-0 lead for Nebraska. They're up a couple points, make it 3 now in the set. And right out of the media break, Texas will call a timeout. We'll take it with them. Back-to-back aces for Nebraska to take a 16-13 lead over Texas here in the second set. They have already taken the opener. It's been a rough start for the outside hitters here. Amy Neal and Paulina Prieto-Sarame, only a $157, Karch.
And the biggest problem with that is they have combined taken 38 of the 58 swings for Texas. So the vast majority of swings with the least efficient hitters. A big reason why they're struggling at this point.
Holly was in the Texas huddle. Holly?
Well, Jarrett Elliott pointing to his head saying, this is the toughness we've been working on all season. This is what we've been building for. They had to be mentally tough to get here in a 5-set comeback against Florida. He's asking them to be more mentally tough right now and make better decisions.
Overpass, and Abagu was there. Point Texas.
You sure got to give Nebraska Sydney Townsend credit. She's hitting some great serves. Those 2 aces and then another serve that put lots of trouble, put the passer for Texas in lots of trouble, creating a scoring chance.
2 aces, 2 good blocks for Nebraska. The difference so far in this set. Pancake dig for Prieto-Sarame and then crushed by Bedard Hani.
And how about that second touch by Chiako Bagu, a back set? That's really the only place she could go because her hitter, Prieto-Sarame, was on the floor. She's on the floor. Where does it go? It has to go back. Bedard Hani crushing it.
Hunter has to run for that. Took him out of system. Point Texas, 3 in a row out of the timeout to tie it up. And now John Cook wants to chat. Well, Holly Rowe just reported about how Jarrett Elliott was looking for toughness from his team, and he got some.
Nice reaction and a little bit of frustration or impatience on Kelsey Fiend's part. She didn't have the advantage there. She's got to find a place to put that in the court, but cause a little bit of trouble, get it back better than you give it.
Let's see if this is a turning point play for Texas here in the second set. The defensive play by Prieto-Sarame to pop it up.
Yeah, they sure seem to take life out of that. And Obagu making the perfect choice. The one hitter that she had available to set puts Bedard Hani in a perfect position.
Your match stats thus far. The hitting errors, 7 apiece. The service errors, 5 apiece. One more block for Nebraska. And one more service ace for the Huskers. First set went to Big Red, 25-23. It's best 3 of 5 for the championship. This is Chloe Collins, their junior setter. Took over the job this season in a 5-1 offense. They had been running some 6-2 in years past. Her and Nicole Dalton. Much better pass there, and Hunter goes over on 2. Point Nebraska.
And this is really Obagu's responsibility. She's a little late getting there. When you have the slide attack, the middle blocker has to help control that setter.
That went inside the antenna for Texas. Obagu was there to slow it down. Bump to Feen. Off the block and out. Point Huskers. So out of their timeout, they score 2 in a row. Hunter. Continue to go after Amy Neal. Bedard Hani up against one blocker in the middle.
Well, it was interesting during the semifinal match as Texas was battling so fiercely with Minnesota. Coach Elliott was heard on the bench saying, we got to trust Bedard Hani more and set her more. That's a play they've rarely set, but they set her in the middle. We call that a 2 set, just about 2 feet above the tape in the middle of the court, and she puts it away.
On the overpass, right to Feen for the kill. Yeah, just like Fecky for Nebraska in the semis. Bedard Hani, her coach said she is unfazed, an amazing mentality that she shows under pressure.
And she's earned the trust of her team over the course of the season. Didn't really have any opportunities. Only played 9 out of the first 16 matches.
Her best match of the year was in the semis as Obagu is blocked. Wong-Aranta is able to pop it up. Katie Rolfson, no. Transition for Nebraska. Fecky with the tip.
Nice read by Collins.
Bedard Hani well off the net, turned back by Hall. Good back row D, back to Fecky, and nobody was there. Cross court for the kill. Timeout for Texas as Michaela Fecky having a coming out party tonight in the national championship. 13 kills, hitting .600 Karch.
And just keeps getting better and better as this tournament has gone on. You gotta admire how these freshmen are rising to the occasion on the biggest stage, maybe the biggest crowd in the history of NCAA volleyball.
Let's check in with Holly.
Well, as you've mentioned, Michaela Fecky of Nebraska is just a true freshman. In her very first NCAA tournament game, she came out with 12 kills. I said, hey, why weren't you nervous? Why have you been so comfortable in this big environment? She said, you know, I always played with older teams. She's been on the national team. She's been on the U18 team. She said, I don't know, I just feel really comfortable. We're seeing that from her demeanor. Actually saw her kind of calming down one of her older teammates in the last huddle. This poise and this composure from the freshman is something to see.
And one of the reasons she gives that credit, she's played in world championships, representing USA, played at the highest level and in the various age group competitions. So she's faced the best of the best on the big stage, that's great preparation for something like this.
Well, and you being the national coach, what kind of things do you try and foster for the younger players with the veterans to help them build those kinds of skills?
Well, I think it's really important for them, if possible, to try to take advantage, participate in the USA pipeline in the high performance program. It certainly was a big benefit for me as I grew up, getting to play for in the junior national championship or world championships, and just seeing what's possible out there. It's so inspiring.
8 kills in the first set, 5 more in this set. And a point for Texas on the touch. Can they get Neal and Sarame back on track? The Big 12 Player of the Year, 6 kills in the match, and now it's Abagu to serve. Hunter in the middle, Rolfson. Neal. Amy Neal now with a couple in a row.
Well, you got to admire each time a team has come out of the timeout, they come back stronger, they respond, they get the side out, and then at least 1 point. Neal taking a little something off it, but hitting a sharper angle, finding the floor.
Going to 25, got to win by 2. Back to Fecky, through the block, right at Abagu. Collins able to run it down. Here comes Neal again, looking for 3 in a row, won't get it. Back row, Albright into the block. Some traffic on the Nebraska side. It's a tight set. Here comes Texas. Collins in the middle to McCage. Kept alive. Albright with a nice play. Back set, Bedard Hani. Point Longhorns.
Well, this wave of red was ready to absolutely erupt. What a great save. If Fecky had come up with that stuff. Albright, great hustle.
Hunter again, that set into the net. And the setter drifted in as well. The violation, point Texas. They go up 1, and Nebraska will use its final timeout. And Texas is 4 points from tying up the match. And they've done it with a 4-0 run. First couple of swings were from their All-American Amy Neal.
And I sure like how both coaches are using their timeouts to calm their teams down. It's so easy to get overamped and get to a much higher activation level, but to try to bring it back to an even emotional level. That the Texas team has talked about that too.
Let's go back to that, probably the longest point of the match, and it goes to the Longhorns as we went back and forth across the net. Terrific plays on both sides.
Yep, and it was near.
Fecky went to the left hand, by the way.
She had to, exactly. Here's that save by Albright. The crowd, looks like she hit her hip there. The crowd was so ready to erupt. If Fecky had gotten that left hand to turn the ball in, actually it went off her right hand and just avoided. Oh, she wanted that one. Look at her face.
That's freshman on freshman in that one. We talked about how it may come down to a play from one of the youngsters tonight. Certainly, Fecky has been all over the place, leading everybody with 13 kills.
And remember how that rally started. Chiako Abagu digging the heat from Michaela Fecky, cross court. Something a middle needs to learn to do if she wants to play international volleyball. They're expected to play a more complete game. Abagu doing it here.
Quite often the middles will only play in the 3 rotations up front, but at Team USA, in your gym carts, you like those 6 rotation players.
Exactly.
Here is Abagu with the serve.
And she causes problems with it. Nicely done.
Fecky dug up. Collins couldn't quite get there.
I think Amy Neal has to jump in. That's too far for Collins to go. Amy Neal, but part of the challenge is with almost 18,000 people here, even if Neal calls it, it doesn't mean Collins will hear it. So she has to wave her off too. Use visual, not only auditory communication.
Wongarantes serving. Neal, bad pass, and it's cleaned up by Bedard Hani.
Bedard Hani has just been amazing, hitting .358 in this tournament. Tonight, .583. She also, just like the great start of Fecky, 7 kills, No errors on 12 swings.
Dalton floats one over. Hunter to Fecky. Got it.
And the other thing, that's one of her favorite things to do. When she gets that kill, she will point to her setter. Thank you. Way to make me better. She loves to give credit to the people who don't always get the credit when she's the finisher, but not necessarily setting up the play.
Dalton, Collins, and the block gives Nebraska the lead. The responsive roof, roof, roof from the crowd.
Yep, Ralston working really hard to get in that play. Again, that's not an easy play for a middle to move that quick laterally and get there.
Amy Neal. Back row Ralston. Dalton will set it back to Neal. The double block is up to slow it down. Fecky. Set point. Service error gets Texas the point. It's another set point coming.
But if you're Nebraska, you look over and you see Michaela Fecky hitting against a 5'7" Chloe Collins. Nebraska likes that matchup.
Tough pass off the serve. Can Fecky clean it up? Blocked by Texas. A chance for the Horns to even it up. Prieto Cerame, long. And the second set goes to the Huskers in a 2-0 lead. Let's get over to Holly Rowe.
Well, Coach, what do you have to do to get Amy Neal and Prieto Cerame a little bit more involved right now?
Well, we got to be able to pass. I mean, it's an out-of-system game right now. We're not scoring over there, so we've got to be good enough to be able to get our waves and our right side involved a little bit more. You know, they're passing perfect right now. So they're in the system 75% of the time. So against a team like this, it's going to be a challenge.
I heard you ask your team that they've got to be more mentally tough. How hard is this environment for your group right now, Coach?
No, it's not. I mean, I just told them to stick in with this. You know, I thought they were just kind of losing it there at 17-13. We got back in the game a little bit more. You know, when teams are executing that good, it can put a lot of pressure on you. It's not the crowd. It's just we got to be able to do a better job from the service line to get them out of system a little bit more.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, in 35 years, 3 teams have rallied from down 0-2 to win the national championship, but so far, it's the Nebraska Cornhuskers with the 2-0 lead, 1 set away from a championship. You're watching the NCAA Women's Volleyball Championship presented by Northwestern Mutual. Here in Omaha, Nebraska, in front of a record-setting crowd, the Huskers leading the Horns 2-0. So Nebraska 1 set away from a national championship. Texas will have to win 3 sets in a row to take home the trophy. And we welcome you back inside CenturyLink Center here in Omaha. Beth Mullins, along with the head coach of the U.S. Women's National Team, Karch Karai. We've seen some good things on the Nebraska side of the net, and in particular the play of their dynamic freshman, Michaela Fecky.
I don't think anybody would have called this at the start of the season. First of all, she was supposed to play opposite on the right side behind the setter, but she's just delivering massive heat. Texas can do nothing to stop her, whether it's line or cross court or into the corner. She's hitting with range. She showed us some finesse plays too, but most of it is just blasting away. Texas can't do anything about it. And they also, Nebraska's coming up with some huge blocks, including that one to win the first game. This was late in the second to put them in a position to close out 25-23.
We as you take a look at the statistics, we heard Jared Elliott tell Holly Rowe going to the locker room, the Texas coach, we have got to figure out how to get Nebraska out of system. They have been passing the ball so well to their setter, Karch, to let her run the offense efficiently.
Yeah, so you look at Texas on the left side there. Every one of those dots is where the first contact traveled to. So you can see Chloe Collins is having to run outside that blue arc often. And that's when their offense breaks down. You want as many of those dots inside the blue arc as possible, because then she can run all the options, set quick, set to the left side in front of her or behind. On the Nebraska side of the net, far more of their dots are staying inside of that blue arc. That is what we call in system. And so the Nebraska setter, Kelly Hunter, is not having to run around and track that down as much. So Texas is going to have to serve tougher, make Kelly Hunter run around more, and at the same time do what they can to control the serving at Nebraska better, so Collins isn't running so much to have to chase. Every one of those dots outside that arc means she's putting her track shoes on.
Texas in white, Nebraska in red. To the third set we go. If Nebraska wins it, they have the championship.
And Texas has spun the dial halfway around. They're getting Amy Neal and all their hitters different matchups. Nebraska starting with the same first server in Kelly Hunter. And immediately it pays off with Texas trying to change the matchups. Another thing they really need to do is get Amy Neal and Paulina Prieto-Cerame going. Combined, they're hitting barely above 100. So I'm not surprised by that move. It's what I would have done too. Just looking, and immediately they get a lift here, because now the hitters for Nebraska are also not used to these blocking matchups. So for example, Cecilia Hall probably not used to Chiako Obagu in front of her, as she had McCoy in the first two games. Sorry, she had McCage in the first two games.
Back set to Fien, dug up by McCoy. Back row attack for Neal, coming right back at her. Outside to Prieto-Cerame, and already a couple of kills for an outside hitter. Texas has talked all season long about needing to have amnesia. Don't worry about what happened. Think about what we've got to do next. And they certainly need some amnesia here in hostile territory, down 0-2. Trying to do what has been done only 3 times in 35 years, and that's rally from down 0-2 in the finals. Katie Rolfson. Good defense for Texas. Obagu in that set, out of her reach. And the block was right there to stuff it.
You're right. A little too low and a little too close. But I like the idea. You want to get the ball to Obagu. See how she had to reach and fly forward just to touch that. But I like the thinking. You want to get the ball to somebody like Obagu. And yet, confusion between Dalton and Neal as passers, leading to an ace.
Ace for Annika Albright.
So it's between the left and middle passer. Probably want to have Neal take that ball, reaching to her left.
Outside Prieto-Cerame, dug up by Wong-Orantes. Here's Michaela Fecke. Did she get a piece of the ponytail of McCoy? No, she did not. Point Texas.
And even if she did, that would be a really tough call to make. So Texas has changed these matchups and now has Obagu on Fecke Moore. Only her second hitting error of this whole match.
8 kills in the first set, 8 more in the second, and they go right back to her, and she's back on track.
You could hear her, Beth, even from, and with headphones on, even from all the way across the court, you could hear her screaming, go, go, go. Setters love to hear that intent in the voices of their hitters.
And she's calling her own number when she yells, go, 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 get her the ball. Back set the slide to Obagu. Good Nebraska defense this time.
That's too close.
Wong-Orantes down to pop that ball up. Pump down to Prieto-Cerame, rejected.
You know, if I were Kat McCoy setting that ball, I think I'd rather go out to Bedard Hani than out to Prieto-Cerame. Bedard Hani's been having great success.
And that's what Jared Elliott just told McCoy. Go out this way. Pointing
7 kills
to the right.
Errors on 12 attempts, hitting almost 600.
Service error there for Nebraska. Point Texas. Brooks is back to serve.
There's a chance for Texas. Oh, that was his shot. I actually love how Brooks came up with that, but there was a net by her own blockers. Point Nebraska.
Michaela Fecke is letting it rip, and when we talked to John Cook at practice today, his message to his team, we got to go for it. We are unleashing everything we've got tonight on this final night of the season. He thought at times they were a little tentative and a little afraid to lose in the semis, and that certainly has not been what we've seen from them tonight. They are unleashing it. This is Abagu. Hunter had to try and pull that out of the net and lean back into it. And call her for the lift, point Texas.
That's the damage a close pass will do to a setter. You got to give her some space, keep it a couple of feet off the net.
Hunter. The slide is stuffed by Neal. Hunter pushes it across. Brooks will bounce it back to the outside. Another good block for Nebraska. Not much Neal could do with that. Pretty much a free ball here for the Huskers, and Fecke. 19th kill. She's 3 shy of a career high in the biggest match of her life.
Lots of time left, too. Boy, I sure loved early in that rally. The first contact for Nebraska was Katie Rolfson with a great pass. Then she saved her own hitter. It was going to hit the floor when the Texas block got a hold of it, and she comes diving in to keep it alive.
Serves it tough as well. Neal got a running start at it. And the kill for the Big 12 Player of the Year.
And yet that was another chance for Texas. They could have pushed it the other way and set out to Bedart Hani. Did not. Losing out on chances to get more offense on the right side of the court.
Fien off the block, point Huskers.
Little surprised that Collins is left almost as a one-on-one blocker. That's a big matchup problem for Texas.
Collins to Neal. Does not get the touch. Point Nebraska. Even at 8 here in the third set. This is Amber Rolfson. Dalton wasn't sure if that was going to go long, so she played it. Hunter tracks it down, dumps on 2.
Kelly Hunter is making some nice choices. Just as I like it when she's running along the net there. Just the activity, the movement attracts blockers' attention in the sense that they don't think she can make that play. She's having to move so much and puts it over. She's made some nice choices, just enough offensively to keep the Texas blockers off balance.
She was in grade school watching the 2006 championship match, and that's when it struck her like a lightning bolt. I want to be a Husker. I want to try and win a national championship for the Big Red. She remembers looking at the picture of the team celebrating and the look on their faces, and she said, I want the same expression on my face one day. Here she is serving it up wearing the same jersey that her mother once wore at Nebraska. And one of 3 starters from Papillion, a suburb of Omaha, setting up Fiend for the kill.
And it was the defense of Hunter that started that rally, creating the chance.
She's from Nebraska and for Nebraska, and they're up by 2. The bowl season is underway, and tonight after the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl, stick around for all the highlights on SportsCenter at night on ESPN and streaming on Watch ESPN. For more on Papillion, 3 of the starters are from that hometown. Here's Holly.
Well, just how important is this small town of just about 22,000 people? Well, 3 starters tonight from that, but the last time in 1995 that Nebraska beat Texas for a national championship, their best all-around player, Allison Weston, was from Papillion as well. In fact, her mom is the church secretary for the Rolfson twins, so that hometown figuring heavily for these Cornhuskers.
It means so much for these young ladies, and John Cook was telling the story in 2006. In fact, it was in his post-game presser. Lives will change forever of the young girls in this state that are watching this team win a title at home. And some of those young girls that we're watching are now out there on the floor themselves. If they win this set, they win the title. Texas has a lot of work to do.
Especially with Michaela Fecky checking back into the game as her position rotates to the front row.
Number 2 in red is 2 kills shy of a career high. She's got 19 already on the night. Hunter gonna go to her. Slowed down by Texas. Collins, good speed to get there. Prieto Cerame dug up by Wong-Orantes. Collins has to track down another one. Off speed from Paulina for the kill.
Wow, Wong-Orantes is playing fantastic backcourt defense. Laying it out with her right hand, but the thing was that she kept it well on her side of the net. Still Texas adjusting. I like Prieto Cerame mixing in little different speeds and locations once in a while.
Hunter back to Fecky. There was contact with the net and the antenna, and it was the swing of Fecky into the antenna. Point Texas.
I don't know if anybody's ever broken one of those, but
she tried to cut it in half.
If somebody's capable of it, it might be Fecky. Another scoring chance for Texas. 2 straight hitting errors.
Point Longhorns, and that was close in the corner. Ruled out.
Good serve by Collins to create the chance. We talked about those setters and how they don't want to have to move much to run their offense. Having on the move again for Hunter.
Rolfson gets the kill.
And this could be one of Nebraska's best blocking lineups. Both the Rolfsons at the net and Fecky also. We'll see where Texas tries to find a weakness.
Wong-Orantes, tough serve to McCoy. Texas unable to get a good swing on it. On the overpass, Rolfson decides to keep it on her side of the net. The tip by her sister won't go down. Quick to Bagu. Good play by Albright. Now it's back to Fecky. Collins, the back set, Bedard Hani, freshman on freshman.
That's the choice.
Hunter, quick in the middle. Collins digs it up. Overpass, slammed home by Amber Rolfson.
She's getting up so high. You got to get up really high to get it around Obagu.
For someone who didn't want to play middle in the beginning of the year, she's sure doing a nice job at it. Prieto Sarame, deep and out. 3 straight for Nebraska. They've got the advantage.
And Texas is changing its formation so that Bedard Hani is going to hit on the left side now. Prieto Sarame on the right side, and Texas trying to get a better passing formation. The last 2 forced Collins to run a long way to contact the ball. Better pass here.
And the swing from Obagu was wide. Timeout, Texas. Huskers up 3 here in the 3rd. College football bowl season underway this afternoon, and the new record, biggest crowd to ever watch a volleyball match indoors in the United States. Breaking the attendance record from 2 days ago, which broke the attendance record from 7 years ago in this building as well. It's been a great scene. And a kill for Nebraska. They've run off 4 straight points. Make it 5.
Great move by Katie Rolfson there, and so Texas switches its alignment again, brings Paula Prieto Sarame back to the left side. Still having some trouble passing with just 2 players, McCoy and Neal. There's a better pass.
Prieto Sarame gets the kill. 3rd set is to 25. You've got to win by 2. Texas has to win it to extend the match. Otherwise, the Huskers will go the 54 miles back home to Lincoln with their 4th national championship. Neal unable to get much heat on it. Obagu does. Point Texas. The senior class for the Longhorns, the winningest in school history, the first Texas team to get to 4 straight national semifinals, trying to bookend their careers with a 2nd national championship.
That's where you got to set. I don't know why they keep setting the left side in the first. Texas is really lucky they got a 2nd swing, got the ball back and up so they could get it to Bedard Hani. Just got to feed her.
Both freshmen have been so good so far tonight for both sides. Nebraska will call a timeout. Texas does not have any left. As John Cook tries to settle his club down. So after Nebraska rattled off 5 in a row, Texas getting 3 straight. We've talked about Michaela Fecke, who's flirting with a new career high, the freshman for Nebraska. And now, Karch, you'd love to see more of the Texas rookie, Bedard Hani, here in the 3rd to keep them in it.
She has 9 kills, only 1 error on 17 swings, but 17 compared to Fecke's 38. Not even half the number of swings, and yet they've had opportunities to get her the ball more, including in that last rally. They were lucky they got a 2nd chance, got it to her for the kill.
What are you talking about right now in this Texas huddle? You've got this crowd that's all pretty much against you tonight. You're in hostile territory. You have to win this set to extend it. They've talked about having amnesia and forgetting about what's happened and trying focusing on what's coming.
Yep, I think they could control the ball just a little bit better. We saw at the break how often their setter, Chloe Collins, is having to run around to make the 2nd touch on her side of the net. So those passers have to settle down a little. And I really think they need to get the ball to their freshmen more behind the setter and spread out the defense of Nebraska.
Kat Brooks, one of those seniors out of Honolulu, is back to serve. Nebraska gunning for its 4th national championship. Texas, its 3rd NCAA title and 4th overall. Point Huskers.
Nice chase by McCoy, but everybody was pursuing with her, and when she shot it toward the net, nobody could make the play.
Katie Rolfson will serve it up. Obagu, bad miss wide. Point Nebraska. You know, a lot of folks earlier in the year thought the Huskers might be a year away. They've only got the one senior in their rotation. Just about everybody else will be back next year with another top-notch recruiting class. But the opportunity to win it at home just too alluring to let pass for the Huskers.
Another pass where Collins has to run and chase it.
Not many options for Neal other than cross court, and she missed that wide. And now Nebraska, a 4-0 run, getting them 4 points away from the championship.
With Texas out of timeouts, no way to break the momentum.
Collins to Neal. The senior gets the kill. Hunter to Fecky. Dug up by Neal. Bertani. Terrific defense by Neal. Point Texas.
And still Texas could be getting her the ball more. The previous rally, they said, Neal, they got the kill, but you got to take advantage of Bertani when she's in the front row. She's about to rotate out.
Hunter, the slide and the kill for Amber Rolfson. Fecky to serve. Going right at Brooks. Collins sets up Bertani. Slowed down by the Huskers, and a chance here. Feed. Back outside to Neal. She'll roll it. Good coverage for the Huskers. Back row. Rolfson with the tip. The sisters score back-to-back. From a title. Bertani thunders that one home. Point Texas. And now she will rotate out. Hunter, Amber Rolfson crushes it, and there are 5 match points for Nebraska. McCage fends it off. Still match point. Free ball, Texas. Dalton to Prieto Sarame. Chance for the Huskers to win it. Tough set for Rolfson to deal with, and Texas fights off another championship point. Texas has brought in an extra blocker in Mirta Baselovic, and it's a timeout, Nebraska.
And remember how big she came up last weekend at the regional finals with a huge block to put Texas at 14-13 in the 5th set against Florida.
And they sub her in for the setter, Collins, so it's on Dalton now to set for Texas.
And I'm sure they're talking about it because they forgot once that Collins was out of the game last weekend, but that's a good move. Texas has to run 3 more points to keep this match alive and put it into extra innings. And the only way they can do that is bolster their block. So they take Collins out, bring in the much taller blocker.
Huskers are a point away from a 4th NCAA championship. Talking to some folks pregame, it's a little bit sweeter when you can beat your rival to win that title. And it's the Texas Longhorns across the net. You've got 7 Nebraskans on your roster, 3 of them all from the same high school. Papillion, La Vista South in the starting lineup. And they could be winning here in Omaha for the 2nd time. They did it in 2006. The senior Amy Neal will serve to try and keep Texas alive. Gotta wait for the referee's whistle before you can serve.
Notice Neal has switched to a jump float. She was hitting the spin earlier.
On the overpass, joust at the net, comes across to Texas. Prieto Sarame off the tips. Hunter to Kelsey Fien. The Huskers win it at home for their 4th national championship. In front of a record crowd here in Omaha, Nebraska gets the sweep of Texas. And a freshman led the charge. Michaela Fecke with 19 kills. Amber Rolfson had 10 out of the middle. And defensively, they were able to lock down the outside hitters for the Horns. And for head coach John Cook, his 3rd national championship here at Nebraska.
What a bold move he made after 5 matches in, switching positions. Didn't necessarily know if it would work, and boy, has it turned out well.
Why do you play a tough non-conference schedule? So you can win tonight. They lost to Texas in September, and that was the reason why they made the changes that ultimately led them to the rematch to celebrate. And it is Kelsey Fien, the senior, who finishes it off on a record-setting night here in Omaha. Terrific season for the Texas Longhorns. They will finish it up 30-3. And back to the national championship match for the 5th time in school history. And the joy for Nebraska as they celebrate their 4th national championship, the 2nd time they have won it in state. More to come from the final right after this. The Nebraska Cornhuskers are your national champions. Let's get it to Holly Rowe.
Well, in January, Michaela Fecky, you guys had T-shirts that said Destination Omaha. Now you're winning a national championship T-shirt. What has this journey been like for your team this year?
It's been crazy, you know. I mean, we came from last year just falling short in the Elite Eight to this year being able to finish it, and it's been on our minds all year to be in Omaha and have all these fans here. I mean, it was a record-selling crowd, and we're just so excited that we can finish it for our fans.
You're a true freshman. You've never been in this moment before. What allowed you to have a career-high 19 kills to lead your team?
I just feel so honored. You know, we came out tonight and we wanted it so bad, and we just worked really hard this season, and to be able to lead this team, it just means something special.
Midway through the year, Coach asked you to make a position switch along with your All-Americans, the Rolfson twins. How much trust did you have in your coach that would bring this kind of a moment?
So much trust. I mean, he's been coaching for so long, and he's won several national championships, and so for him to be able to say that, and I just had trust in him, knowing that I would be able to go out and do it and do my job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations to Nebraska. They get the sweep in the finals here over the Texas Longhorns. And they win it in front of their home crowd, a record-setting crowd, and Holly now has Coach John Cook.
Well, I think we just missed it, but you look much more wet earlier tonight.
Makeup's gonna start running. You got makeup?
Coach, what does this mean to you to have this many people in this building watching these young ladies win a championship?
Holly, I don't have words to describe it, except that this is a really great state. We have 1.8 million people. They love this team. They love the Huskers, and they support us all the time. And for this to happen here in the greatest crowd ever to see a volleyball match in this country and play Texas, I mean, this is the pinnacle.
You had to take a leap of faith midway through the season. You made position changes to your freshmen, your All-American. How did that leap of faith pay off for you?
Well, it held out great because you saw Michaela Fecky do it tonight. And I'm not going to go on record. That kid told me a year ago, she goes, Coach, we're going to Omaha, we're going to win this thing. And I'm like, this is she's not even enrolled yet. And she's telling me that. And she has tremendous confidence. You saw it, she's a big-time player. You saw it tonight.
Another leap of faith. You asked your setter to sit out last year and be patient. How did that pay off for her and her trust in you?
Well, it's one of the biggest things I think of a player ever trusting me for any decision I've made. And it was really hard because she was good, but we just felt like last year that was the best thing to do. And I asked her after we beat Washington, you know, was it worth it? And she told me and gave me a big hug. And now it's really worth it.
You've been working on Destination Omaha all year since January. What is your destination tonight?
I don't know. I want to be with my family and then be with these girls and my staff and team and just somewhere quiet and just, I don't know. This is unbelievable, you know, and the pressure here is, I don't think anybody really understands. I mean, we got the home crowd, but the pressure here to win is tremendous. I feel like 1,000 pounds have been lifted off.
Well, the trophy's a little heavier. Congratulations.
Okay, Holly, thanks.
And good luck to Coach Cook trying to find a quiet place in the state of Nebraska tonight. They are celebrating a national championship, and it was the freshman, Michaela Fecky, the most outstanding player of the tournament. A 3-0 sweep for Nebraska over Texas for their 4th national championship. A reminder, coming up next is college basketball, UNLV and Arizona. For more from the national championship trophy presentation ceremony here in Omaha, tune in to ESPN3. Nebraska, the 4 seed, ends up winning it all. 54 miles from their Lincoln campus, and they will take home the trophy. We will send it out to Roxy Bernstein and Sean Farnham in Tucson.